I hadn't seen Eric in 3 years when he called me out of the blue. He sounded off. Not panicked exactly, but distracted. His voice was low, like he was whispering even though he was alone. He said he needed a ride. His car broke down on Route 33, near an old motel called Sleepy Pines Lodge. I laughed. I thought he was messing with me. Eric always had a twisted sense of humor, but he wasn't joking. "I just need you to come now," he said, voice tense. "Don't tell anyone. Just come get me, please." I drove out that night. It was around 10:40 p.m. when I left. The drive took about 2 hours through dark back roads and mostly empty stretches of highway. When I finally saw the flickering neon Sleepy Pines sign in the distance, I breathed a little easier. I figured he was probably just having a rough night, maybe some kind of breakdown. The place looked like every other forgotten roadside motel. One-story building, dim yellow lights, cracked pavement, and vending machines that probably hadn't worked in years. There was one car in the lot, a beat-up, silver Camry with the driver's side door wide open. Eric's car. I parked next to it. I called him. No answer. I texted. "I'm here. Where are you?" No response. I walked up to the office. The door was locked. Lights were on inside, but the desk was empty. No bell, no manager, nothing. I walked back toward Eric's car. His keys were still in the ignition. His phone was on the passenger seat. His wallet, too. That's when my stomach dropped. I started knocking on the motel doors. Most were dark. No sounds, no lights. Room 5 had the door slightly open. I hesitated, then pushed it gently. The room was clean but weirdly cold. The TV was on static. There was an open suitcase on the bed, Eric's clothes, shoes on the floor, but no sign of him. I stood in the doorway, trying to calm myself. Then I heard a soft knock. Not from the door. Behind me, from inside the bathroom, just one knock. Then silence. "Eric?" I called, stepping closer. The door was shut. No light underneath. I knocked back. Nothing. I slowly opened the bathroom door. Empty. But the window was open, screen hanging. Halfway out, like someone climbed through it in a rush. I looked out. Just darkness and the woods behind the motel. No footprints, no movement. Just trees swaying gently in the wind. I waited in the room for about 20 minutes, hoping he'd come back. At some point, I realized I was sitting there breathing shallowly, heart pounding like something was about to happen, but nothing did. I left the room, walked back to the office, still empty. I decided to call the police. I told them everything. My friend called me. I came out. His stuff's here. He's missing. They arrived 40 minutes later. 2 officers. They searched the woods, checked the room, questioned me over and over. Finally, they took a report and told me someone would follow up. That was 4 months ago. No one's followed up. Every time I call, I get pushed off. We're still investigating. We'll let you know if we find anything. Eric is still missing. Here's the part that really messes with me. 2 nights ago, I couldn't sleep. I was going through my phone gallery, just randomly, and I found a picture I didn't remember taking. It was dated the night I went to get him. It showed room 5, the inside of it. From behind the TV, like someone hiding and taking a photo of me standing near the bed. In the photo, my back is to the camera. I'm looking at the bathroom door. I stared at it for hours. I didn't take that picture. I didn't even know there was space behind that TV. I drove back to that motel yesterday. It's gone. Like, the whole building is demolished, flattened, fenced off, no signs, no Camry, no suitcase, no room 5. But I swear it was there. I was in it, and I still have the picture. I never believed that something terrible could happen to my best friend Jake. We grew up together. We shared everything. But sometimes, you don't really know a person until it's too late. It started on a normal Friday night. Jake and I planned to meet at his apartment after work. He had just moved into a new place in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but nice enough. We wanted to catch up because we hadn't seen each other for a few weeks. I got to his building around 7 p.m. I called him, but no answer. I knocked on his door. Locked. That was strange. Jake always left his door unlocked, or at least texted if he was going out. I sent him a message. "Hey, I'm here. Where are you?" No reply. I waited for about 15 minutes, then decided to check the window. His apartment was on the 3rd floor, overlooking the street. I could see inside the living room through the curtains. The lights were on, but the place looked empty. No jacket on the coat rack, no shoes by the door. Nothing. Just silence. I thought maybe he went out quickly, maybe forgot his phone. But then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jake's number. It said, "Don't come up. It's not safe." My heart stopped. I tried calling him again. No answer. I texted back, "What do you mean? Are you okay?" Seconds later, another message. "Someone's here. I think they're watching me." I froze. I didn't know what to do. Should I call the police? Should I try to get into the building? Then my phone rang. It was Jake. He whispered, "Don't come. Please." The line went dead. I panicked. I called the police and told them everything. They said they would send someone, but it would take time. I didn't want to wait. I rushed to the building's front door. It was locked tight. I tried the emergency exit, but it was also locked. I waited outside, pacing, hoping to see Jake or anyone. After about 30 minutes, I heard a noise from the alley beside the building. Footsteps. Soft, slow. I looked around but saw no one. Then I heard muffled voices. One sounded like Jake's, but I couldn't be sure. Suddenly, the fire escape ladder rattled. I looked up. The back window on the 2nd floor slid open a little. A hand reached out quickly, then pulled back. I shouted, "Jake, are you there?" No answer. I stood there for what felt like hours. Finally, police arrived. They searched the building and the area. They found nothing. No sign of Jake, no forced entry, no struggle, just his phone on the kitchen table, his door locked from the inside. I was crushed. For days, I called his phone. Sometimes it would ring, sometimes go straight to voicemail. Then I got a text from his number again. It said, "Help me." I showed the message to the police. They said it could be anyone. I started looking for clues myself. I went back to his apartment with a locksmith. We opened the door. The place looked normal, but I noticed something strange on the wall behind the couch. A small scratch like someone had tried to scrape paint away. I touched it gently. It was dry blood. I called the police again. They dusted the wall for prints but found nothing. Days turned into weeks. No one saw Jake. No one knew where he was. Then one night, I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice, cold and quiet. He said, "You shouldn't look for him. He's not coming back." I asked, "Who is this? What happened to Jake?" He hung up. I never heard from that number again. Now sometimes I walk by Jake's old apartment. The curtains are drawn, lights off. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I see a shadow moving inside. I keep wondering, was he taken? Did he run? Is he still there, trapped somewhere? I never found out what really happened, and the worst part? Sometimes my phone buzzes at night. Messages from Jake's number. Just one word. Help. I still don't know what happened that night in the woods with Sam. It was supposed to be just a quick camping trip. something easy to clear our heads. But it turned into one of the worst nights of my life. Sam and I had been friends since college. We loved hiking and camping, but we weren't experts, just two guys who liked to get outside and disconnect from the city. We planned to spend one night in the Pine Ridge Forest, about 2 hours from town. It was a quiet place, lots of trees, a small creek, and not many people around. We got there late afternoon, set up our tent near the creek, and started a small fire. The sun was warm, the air smelled like pine needles and earth. Everything felt calm. We talked and laughed, ate some sandwiches, and then the sun started to go down. By nightfall, the woods were full of sounds, the rustling of leaves, distant, owls and the creek flowing gently nearby. We decided to take a short walk before sleeping. Sam wanted to check out a small trail he saw earlier. I wasn't thrilled, but I followed him. The trail was narrow and dark. The trees grew close together, their branches making strange shapes in the moonlight. The air got colder, and the ground underfoot was soft and damp. We walked for maybe 15 minutes. Then Sam stopped. He said he saw something down the path, like a small cabin. I didn't believe him. There was no cabin marked on any map, but curiosity got the better of me. We moved closer. The cabin was old and run down. The wooden walls were cracked, paint peeling. The door was hanging on one hinge. Sam pushed it open slowly. Inside it was dark, and smelled like mold and decay. There was a table with some broken chairs, a rusted stove, and piles of old newspapers scattered on the floor. Suddenly, I heard a sound, like footsteps coming from outside. I turned to tell Sam, but he was already looking toward the window. I followed his gaze. In the distance, through the trees, I saw a figure. It was hard to make out. Tall, thin, and standing still. Sam whispered, "Did you see that?" I nodded, heart beating fast. The figure didn't move. We decided to leave. As we walked back, the forest seemed different. The path we took wasn't the same anymore. The trees felt closer. Shadows stretched longer. I realized we were lost. We had no signal on our phones, and the light from the moon was faint behind thick clouds. Sam tried to stay calm. He said we just needed to keep walking toward the creek. We did, but the creek was nowhere to be found. Hours passed. We kept walking in circles. My legs were sore, and the cold was biting through my jacket. I looked at Sam. His face was pale. His eyes were wide with fear. Suddenly he stopped and whispered, "I think someone's following us." I laughed nervously, but then I heard it too. Soft footsteps behind us. We turned around. No one was there. But the feeling of being watched didn't go away. We ran as fast as we could through the dark forest, stumbling over roots and rocks. Finally, we saw a faint light. It was our campfire. We ran toward it and collapsed near the tent. We sat there, breathing hard. Sam said, "We should pack up and leave first thing in the morning." I agreed. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. The forest no longer felt safe. Morning came, but when I woke up, Sam was gone. I called his name, but no answer. I looked everywhere, near the tent, the fire, the woods around us. Nothing. Found his backpack by the creek with his phone inside. It had one new message. It was from Sam's number. It said, "Help me. I'm not alone." I called the police immediately. They came and searched the area. They found some footprints, but they faded into the woods. No sign of Sam. They told me to stay calm. But I couldn't. For days, I went back to that forest, calling his name. Once I thought I saw him standing far away between the trees. but when I got closer, no one was there. I never found Sam. Sometimes, at night, I still hear footsteps outside my window. Sometimes, my phone buzzes with a message from Sam's number. But the messages are always blank. No words, just silence. I don't know if he's still alive or if he ever was. And every time I close my eyes, I see the cabin. The cabin with the broken door. Waiting. I still remember the last time I saw Emily. It was supposed to be a normal weekend at her apartment, just hanging out and catching up. But that night changed everything. Emily and I had been friends since high school. We kept in touch even after college, even though we lived in different cities now. She had just moved into a new apartment downtown, a small place but cozy. She was proud of it and wanted me to visit. I took the bus to her place on a Friday evening. The weather was cool, a bit rainy, but not heavy. When I arrived, the street was quiet, the kind of silence that feels a little too still. I knocked on her door. No answer. I called her, but the phone went straight to voicemail. That was weird. Emily always answered quickly or at least texted back. I waited a few minutes, then knocked again. Still nothing. I noticed the door was slightly unlocked, just a crack. I pushed it open slowly and called her name. Emily? The apartment smelled like she'd left in a hurry. Half-empty coffee cups, a jacket on the couch, and her phone on the kitchen table. I walked inside and looked around. Everything looked normal, but there was a strange feeling in the air, like something was off. I sat down on her couch and tried calling her again. No answer. I checked the windows, locked tight. I decided to wait for her. An hour passed. Still no sign. I started to get worried. Then I heard a noise from the bedroom. It was soft, like something falling. I stood up and moved toward the door. The bedroom door was closed. I pushed it open slowly. The room was dark, but I could see her bed. It looked untouched, like she hadn't slept there in days. On the floor, near the window, was a small piece of torn fabric. I picked it up. It was from a jacket I didn't recognize. Suddenly my phone buzzed. A message from Emily's number. It said, "Don't trust anyone. They're watching." I froze. Who was watching? Who sent this message? I replied. "Emily, where are you? Are you okay?" No answer. I called 911. The dispatcher told me to stay at the apartment and wait for the police. While waiting, I started looking for clues. I noticed the curtains were drawn tight, but one window was slightly open. I went to close it and saw fresh footprints on the balcony outside. Big, heavy footprints, not Emily's size. The police arrived after about 20 minutes. They searched the apartment carefully. They found no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints except Emily's and mine, no signs of a struggle. They asked me questions, told them everything. They said they would check surveillance cameras nearby. After the police left, I stayed alone in the apartment. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still there. The lights flickered once. I heard soft whispers. I told myself it was my imagination. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from Emily's number. I answered. No one spoke, just heavy breathing. Then a click, and the call ended. I was terrified. I decided to leave. As I gathered my things, I noticed a small note taped under the kitchen table. It said, "Help me. They're inside." I ran out, locked the door behind me, and never went back. The police never found Emily. Her phone stopped working. No one knew where she went. Sometimes I wonder if she's still sending those messages, or if someone else is. I keep her last texts saved because I don't know what happened, and I don't think I ever will. I never thought a simple road trip with my friend Mark would turn into something I can't forget. Something that still haunts me. Mark and I had been close since high school. We both loved driving, just hitting the road with no real plan. One weekend, we decided to take a trip to a small town about 3 hours away. Nothing special, just a break from our busy lives. We left early in the morning. The highway was empty, the sky gray and cloudy. The radio played softly, and the air smelled like rain. Everything was normal. We stopped at a gas station halfway through the trip to fill up and grab some snacks. Mark went inside to pay. I stayed in the car, checking my phone. When Mark came back, he looked pale. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing," he said quickly. But I could tell he was shaken. I didn't press him. We got back on the highway. About an hour later, the car suddenly made a strange noise, a grinding sound from the engine. I pulled over onto a quiet stretch of road surrounded by trees. Mark got out and popped the hood. I stayed inside, calling roadside assistance. While waiting, I noticed something strange. The road behind us was empty. No cars. No people. Just silence. Mark came back inside and said he didn't see anything wrong with the engine. We waited for about 30 minutes. Then, I noticed Mark wasn't in his seat. I looked around. He was walking toward the edge of the forest, disappearing between the trees. "Mark, where are you going?" He didn't answer. I got out and called his name. No response. I started to worry. I followed the path he took. It was narrow and covered with leaves. The air smelled damp and cold. I shouted again. Suddenly I heard a rustle behind me. I turned fast. No one. I kept walking deeper into the woods. Then, I found something on the ground. Mark's phone. It was unlocked with an open message. It said, "Help me, they're here." I felt my stomach drop. I called his number. It went straight to voicemail. I ran back to the car as fast as I could. When I got there, Mark was gone. The car was still running, the door open. I waited, hoping he would come back. Hours passed. I called the police. They came and searched the area. They found no footprints in the dirt, no sign of Mark, no clue what happened. The weirdest part? A few days later, I got a text from Mark's number. It said, "Don't trust the road." I never replied. I still drive that highway sometimes, looking for answers, and every time I pass that quiet stretch of road, I feel like someone is watching me from the trees.